All right, welcome. This
Yeah, hi.
is everyone. This is ZenRS or ZenRS or how do you
Either one works. I like ZenRS because it's easier to pronounce.
ZenRS? Okay. And why don't you introduce yourself to some of the people who might not know who you are?
Yeah, hi. I'm ZenRS or Zenaris. I am a Heroes of the Storm player for formerly Chilling Mountain. Now we're called Heavy Impact. And we were the recent winners of the first Storm division of NGS. I was their offlane.
You're right. First off, I just want to say Heavy Impact is a really cool name. I love it.
We've
Uh,
also got a cool logo.
oh really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh dang. Okay. You'll have to send it to me later, and we'll post it on the
Yeah, sure.
website.
Maybe this will be like the section where it sort of like pops up on the screen in post edit.
I hope my editor is okay with editing that in. as long as I don't forget to do it. I'm terrible at that
Nope.
point.
There you go
Um,
then.
so when did you start playing Heroes of the Storm?
Hmm. I think I started getting really into Heroes of the Storm around the time 2.0 launched. I played a little bit before that, but nothing like too serious because I just wanted to try out a new MOBA at the time. But because I had recently quit League of Legends and I was feeling like I needed that MOBA itch again, I started playing Heroes of the Storm and it was really fun for a while. And I still enjoy the game today.
Okay, I was gonna ask. Um, so were you at all familiar with Blizzard franchises prior to Heroes of the Storm? Is that kind of what draw you in, or is it just that you heard it was in MOBA and that they released 2.0?
I for me it was mostly the latter. I
Okay.
didn't really have too much experience like playing World of Warcraft and getting nostalgic for the characters or StarCraft or any of the other franchises, but honestly it has kind of enticed me to like try some of those other games as a result.
Okay, yeah. So you said you don't have any history in playing other games competitively, right?
Well, in terms of playing competitively with a team and doing tournaments, prior to starting Heroes of the Storm, I didn't actually have any competitive experience.
Okay. What about prior to season one of Storm Division and Heroes of the Storm? Did you have any experience then, or was this like pretty much your first tournament?
Oh, I was all over the place. I think I started just trying out after I got to Master, and I found like a bunch of teams like in Div A for NGS. I think that was my first time just like being a sub for them. And then after that, I started like going from team to team. It went from Keanu Reeves, Sanctified Livestock, um, just a whole bunch of teams to like sort of like try out, get a feel for the whole entire thing. And I was also hopping roles from time to time. At first, I was a ranged DPS, then I moved on to offlane, then to tank, then healer, and I'm back to offlane.
Nice. Which is your favorite role of the ones that you've done? Well, you've done all of them, so.
Honestly, in terms of least stress, I definitely enjoy offlane quite a bit, as long as it's just like, I mean, in the offlane, you don't really have to worry about too many losing matchups. You just sort of play to your strengths. And even if you are in a losing matchup, you could just style on the opponent if you know how to play it. Like you're a Blaze against the Leoric, dodge the W, and somehow you get to wail on the Leoric.
Okay, so style like just through gameplay, you're not gonna B step on your opponents.
Well, of course, like
Okay.
I mean, of course not. Of course not. I wouldn't be step no.
Okay.
Um, like that type of thing would probably get me banned from NGS. Might have been suspended once for a meme back in Twitch chat, but that aside,
Right.
um, yeah, offlane definitely my favorite role so far. After that, it really depends on like which hero I like playing in each role. Like damage, healer, it depends on who I have to fill. So far, I think I like healer a little bit more than damage,
Okay.
but yeah.
So, and I'm gonna hate myself for skipping between different questions I have ordered, but related to what we're talking about, who's your favorite hero to play in total?
In total, Jesus, uh, I'd say probably has to be. I mean, safest bet is honestly Hanzo. I
Really?
think in terms of heroes that I just like started out playing and feeling like I could click with them, Hanzo felt the most natural to me at the time. I picked him up around the time he was released, and everyone was going W build, one-shotting bosses, and I was just sitting here going full on Q build, and I was still doing really well. Um, like I think back when Hot Slogs was still a thing, I had number one Hanzo on the leaderboard for a while. Right now, I'm a bit rusty, but I still enjoy playing him. Even more so that Dragon Strike is an actual thing, and I love making it a thing. Like I hate being a meta slave sometimes, so it's just refreshing when you can just let loose and play something else.
But if your team needs you to play those meta heroes, you're willing to play it, I assume?
I mean, sure, but I'm not gonna like give up without trying to suggest something else. You know,
That makes
it's like
sense.
sure, Blaze could work here, but what if I went Stitches off lane? You know?
Yeah, and you actually have a game on as Stitches in NGS.
Oh yeah,
Did you play that offlane?
oh yeah, I did.
Very nice.
Such a fun game. I still remember it quite well.
Your most played hero is, I'm not sure if you'd consider her meta. I'm pretty sure she is. Urel.
Oh,
That
yeah.
is your most played hero in NGS on 8 games with a pretty high win rate, if I might say so. 87.5%.
Wait, 87.5. That must have been. Oh, hmm.
Yeah.
I see.
Just off stats of the storm, you know.
I see.
So
Yeah. I mean, with Urel specifically, I mean, she was kind of cool for a while, but at the same time, like the more I played her, the more I was just like not really liking her playstyle as much as I would like other bruisers. And then there was this one game on Braxis. I think that was like probably one of the few games where I actually had a loss on her. That kind of tilted me and sort of kept me away from Urel for a while during that series in the tournament bracket. Um, yeah, I mean it was kind of awkward. Like a lot of the situations where I had to play Urel, it was mostly because hey, Urel works here. She's a good pick. Just pick her. And yeah, I played her decently.
okay, so you are willing to play the meta heroes when the situation calls for it.
Well, sure. I mean, I'm a team player.
What about maps? Your team picked Infernal Shrines and Battlefield of Eternity a lot. Well, I'm not sure if they picked it, but they played most of their games on it. What's it
Mhm.
about those two maps that your team really wanted to play on?
Well, I feel like in terms of like being comfortable on these maps and being able to draft for these maps, for Infernal Shrines, I think that's by far our most comfortable map out of everything else. We have just like a whole lot of draft plans that we can just set up for it, and it usually works out well. And I'm not sure how our record is on that map compared to others, but it's still, again, one of our most comfortable. Battlefield, on the other hand, initially, I think we had a bit of struggles when it came to like figuring out a good draft, depending if we could get like, you know, a good race hero or whatever. But we straightened out those kinks in scrims and eventually made it one of our other good maps.
Okay, as the offlaner, do you on Battlefield Eternity do you pick for race or pick for team fights or lane or it depends?
I mean, generally speaking, I mostly pick it for either fights or zoning. For race, it's okay to pick the offlaner for that, but I like just being able to like control the zone around Battlefield of Eternity because having that sort of setup where you can just safely flank an enemy team or prevent them from flanking you with having like a reliable offlaner is nice. Um, but that offlaner, if they're good in race, for example, Artanis or I would want to say Gaslow, but he's also just good at zoning for the same reasons that I just stated. But yeah, like usually we'll have at least one or two DPS that are good at racing, and everything else, as long as we win the fight on that map, then we can just control how fast the enemy races and play at our own pace. I like control.
All right, that makes sense. Would you say you have a rivalry with any other player or any storylines that casters or the public would be interested in knowing about?
Ah, man. I mean, I don't want to say rivalries as much as it is like just partnerships over the years. Like right now, I mean, they weren't in Storm Div last season, but they are trying to get in this season. ACA, I've played with their members for a while on some teams. Like they had my pal Vince, Kelsier, both of them just fun people to play with and very energetic. They definitely bring a very unique energy to the scene, and that was definitely like one of the most unique teams I've ever been on just because of them. Um, and I guess in a sense, you could say it's a little bit of a rivalry now that we're on different teams and we might have to fight each other in Storm Div.
Okay. So we should
Aside,
be watching
yeah,
out for ACA versus ZenRS.
that'd be fun.
Okay.
Um, that aside, I mean, I wouldn't call it a rivalry, but we definitely had a lot of high expectations against the Koreans from last season, and we were just stoked after like every game we just took from them. Um, I don't know. It was just like something about beating Koreans, just like it's really just a nice feeling to have.
Because of the mythos that they've kind of established for themselves as being very good in the scene, or
In a sense, yeah.
okay.
I mean, to be fair, they did have like an A ping and everything,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it was like they also still had really nice reactions and everything. Like one time when Hyde was playing Brightwing and he self cleansed an ETC stun on towers, like I think that moment just like stuck out to me. I mean, stuck out to me in terms of like how trained and prepared these guys were for the games as well. Um, yeah,
What
like
about you playing on ping? How do you feel about that?
oh, well, there was a time when I played in Europe for a tournament. And I was playing healer, and the healer that they wanted me to pick most of the time was Ana. It it was not fun. It was just really not a fun time. And you know, that actually might explain why Team Alexander last season kept on banning Ana, because even if they could play it, playing her on high ping just sucks. It really does suck.
Yeah,
Oh
I don't envy the position of anyone that has to play a skill
yeah.
shot based hero, especially one like Ana that's so dependent on the skill shots and high ping.
hmm
So going back to the teams that you've played on, what about your current team? You're Heavy Impact now. You used to be Chili Mountain. How did you? But you've been this same group of 5 people, about right? Or
Yeah,
have there been
pretty
lots of
much.
changes? Okay. How did you get to be on this current team? Were you scouted, or did you make friends through Storm League or through the community?
Well, before we were Heavy Impact, Chilling Mountain, and I suppose like even before we take these, the team was mostly known as Abusement Park. And like we had a whole team and community like before we take these was made. Um and it was like back then I got to know people from that team, including Mason and Tremor and a couple of others. I think Roger came on later. Infrared might have been there, but memory's a little hazy. But I got to know them during the time I was subbing or on a roster for my first team.
Okay.
So
So
there is some history there.
so you were subbing for them, or you? I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand.
Yeah, I mean, I knew the players on that team. I think I did play with them for a season. And then after that season, we kind of like disbanded for a little bit. And then one day, like last year or something, again, I can't remember the exact date, but they just came to me and said, "Hey, we need like a role to like fill on our team. Like I think it was like offlane or healer or something. You want in?" And I was like, "Sure." And that's how I got to be on the team.
Ah, that's pretty cool. what did it mean to you winning season 1 of Storm Division?
That was really, really ecstatic. I mean, it was just stacked in terms of, well, there's a couple things to consider, right? Like Storm Div itself was pretty competitive already. We had a lot of teams that were full of good players, some of them in CCL, some of them not in CCL, but either way, it was great competition. And the other thing, I guess, that made it all the more worth it to just win Storm Division was just the fact that, I mean, the common thing on our team was that none of us got drafted for CCL, which was kind of okay, sure. Like a lot of our names weren't really like known at the time. Even though we were called Chili Mountain during that tournament, um, it didn't mean we were like exclusively just playing for that NGS Storm Div, and we weren't like off limits, I believe, for
Right.
getting drafted. So in a sense, you could say it's a bit uh, vindicative of the fact that we got to win it, and at the time, I think, yeah, like it was just
Yeah,
a nice catharsis.
that's understandable. Yeah. So going to some other less kind of heavy questions. Do you have any pregame rituals?
Well, hmm. That's a tough question. It's just mostly like I'm kind of chilling before the games. Maybe no, like people usually aren't there before the game, so I'm mostly by myself. Maybe Roger's in the call by himself and he's just chilling. He's like, "Hey Z," and you know, we just talk or hang out in silence. Uh, Otherwise, like not much happens in terms of like specific pre-game rituals. Post-game rituals, the entire team just goes and plays ARAMs. Um, yeah.
Is that how you celebrated the winning Storm Division?
Oh yeah, I think they definitely played an ARAM that day.
Yes. Sorry, I just
They really love to just stay up late at night and play ARAMs, and I'm just like, yeah, it's definitely getting late for me. You guys just have fun, and then I see them like an hour later, and then they're still playing ARAMs. It's like, they're having fun. Yeah, I should probably sleep at this time. Mhm.
So that's what you do before game and after game. What about between games? What are your practice routines like?
Oh, um, well, that's a tough question. In terms of like reassessing what happens during these games, we do have a generally good mentality of just like moving on from whatever happened in the last game. Um, there are some times where things can feel frustrating when we have to play against a certain comp or when someone feels like they're just invalidated of their role because against the enemy team, like it's hard to play around whatever they have, whether it's like a CC combo or a full-on push you can't defend against. Um, but either way, we do usually find a way to bounce back from that. Um,
Okay, so I
yeah.
guess I miss I misspoke. That's cool, and I wish I had thought of that question before. What about like practice between like days? Where
Oh,
it's
that's what you meant.
well, yeah, I misworded that. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Between days, well, I guess usually we do have a scrim at least once a week. At least during the season, we definitely had one scrim, and then we would have a game day, and that would usually be it. Sometimes we would have two scrims. Um, Aside from that, we would have some VOD reviews. They were not very like frequent. They would usually be after like a series of tough games where it might have been like a close series. Although I probably wasn't there at the time because those weren't exactly scheduled. Um,
Okay.
but that aside, yeah, I mean it's just pretty regular stuff in terms of what we do in between the days. Like sure, we might play some Here's the Storm because like someone's on and we can just Storm League it up. Um, or ARAM it up. Otherwise, it's pretty regular. Scrim game,
That makes sense.
do whatever.
Now we're gonna wrap up a bit now.
Okay.
So, is there anything you want to say to your fans?
I have fans?
I mean, you won Storm Division 1.
That's true.
You were, I was bragging to my friends like, yeah, I got an interview with a pro player coming up today, and they yeah, I got some street cred from that.
That sounds cool. But yeah, I guess if I had to say anything to my fans, or I guess whoever like looks at our NGS game streams and stays for the interviews that I do, God, like I don't know how you would do that, but props to you because my team just cringes when they let me do interviews because no one else would do them. But that aside, if you're watching this to the end of the interview, thank you for just being there. You know, Heroes of the Storm is just personally to me a really enjoyable game to play, regardless of whatever happens. There's always something new. Even like now with the slower patches and release schedules, I still find a lot of ways to just enjoy the game. So the fact that everyone's just here and they're participating in this content, whether it's just watching it, sharing it, doing whatever with it, I appreciate it. I really do. Um, and there's not much else I can really like say in terms of like expressing my gratitude because really like every single viewer just counts. Just spending hours just watching the games, just seeing, hey, I wonder how this guy is gonna do, or hey, is this guy gonna play offlane stitches again? You know, like
Would you like to be known
I love
as
it.
the person that played the offlane stitches?
I mean, in terms of having other things, uh, we'll save that after I play him a couple more times this season, and then we
Okay.
can like call it less of a fluke and make it more of a thing.
Okay,
That's what I
so
really intend to do.
we might be seeing some offlane stitches from
Just a
Heavy Impact.
maybe.
Okay.
Sure.
That's some more incentive to tune into your games. There wasn't enough already. So those fans, what about people who are now just becoming your fans? Where can they find you on social medias?
Oh,
And feel free to link them also in this in my DMs, and then I'll send them to my editor to put in the description of the YouTube video.
okay. That is a really tough question because for the most part, our team doesn't actually participate on social media all that much. We do have Twitter handles at least, although that was mostly thanks to our previous sponsor, Chili Mountain, for helping us with that. But for the most part, I might post like the occasional meme or two on there. Uh, Although if they really do feel inclined to follow our social media, what was my handle again? I forgot. It's probably just twitter.com/ZenRS, isn't it? Oh yeah, it actually is. Yeah. It's at ZenRS, ZEENARUS. That's my handle. And then everyone else, well, we can probably just like put it in the description because I don't remember them off the top of my head.
Okay, sure. All right, thank you so much for the interview.
Yeah,
Thanks for joining me,
it's all good.
and have a wonderful day.
Yeah, you too.